Okay, here's the stencil pattern I'm using. Clear plastic stencil. And I'm using Apple Barrel brand matte acrylic paint, which the bonus and what's really important here is quick drying. You want your paint to dry within 30 seconds is really best. If it's drying taking any longer than that, then it's really going to slow down this process. So quick drying is very important. Okay, you can see here that before I got started, one thing I did is I printed out a sheet to make sure that one, I spell everything correctly, and also that I would do all my measurements correctly. And basically this shows that I have on the top line 16 characters. Each letter is an inch wide, and the spaces are also an inch wide. In between each letter and space there's going to be a 1/4 inch of room to space the letters apart. So each letter takes up an inch and a quarter for each space. There's 16 inches of letters and spaces, but the total with the 1/4 inch spaces in between is 19 inches and 3/4 actually. The bottom one, of course, 17 inches, and with spaces it's 21 inches. Now, a quick way to do this was to just make my measurements onto a board really quick with a ruler. Basically this board has 1 inch spaces for the letters, and then 1/4 inch spaces in between each letter. So those are going to be my markings. All you're going to need is a bottom line basically to act as a guide, and then your little space markers right there. And you're going to have to figure out what is half of the distance and mark the center and know what's half of your lettering and start everything moving from the center point out. So really coming up with a good plan for how you're going to measure this out is the most important thing here. To really center it as well as possible, and of course just use a pencil, and I'll show you why later. It actually erases really easy off the paint without taking the paint along with it. Now you can see here that below each letter I've written the entire thing out in little pencil mark letters. This is because if you don't do this, you'll probably end up putting the wrong letter in the wrong place, and you can paint all day long white paint over this black paint and it's not gonna go away. You're always gonna see it unless you black out the entire thing and then white paint the entire thing all over again. Now here's the brush I'm using, and we're just gonna use this brush to dry brush on the letters, and we're gonna blot the letters. Instead of doing a brush stroke, we're just gonna do a blotting motion. Now you can see here, this being transparent really makes it easy to just line the stencil up above the letter and just slide it down into place. Okay, so we're just gonna wet the brush with the little black paint, and remember we're doing dry brushing here, so it's important to get the brush fairly dry. Okay, now I've got my dry brush ready, and I'm just gonna go ahead and blot on the letters, and it will slowly fill the letters in by making little dots over and over until it gets dark enough. And really for something like what I'm doing, it doesn't have to be perfect, because it's good if it looks a little aged, but you want to get it all these letters pretty dark, because the more you have on there, it's going to really define it. Okay, now this is my art eraser, and I'm just going to take this, and it's really important to have a really good eraser, because the erasers on most of your pencils are complete garbage by the time you go to use them. The eraser could be all dried up, and it's going to leave a big mark all over the thing. So you need to have a really decent eraser. You could get a gum eraser from the art store, or I just had this oversized dollar store eraser lying around. So yeah, so it worked out really great, and As you can see, the eraser is taking off this pencil, but it is not leaving any marks on the paint, and it's not taking the black or the white paint along with it. Now, the black paint does need to be dry, but for me, this quick drying paint dries in about 30 seconds, so it really wasn't a big deal. And as you can see here, all the pencil marks are gone, and now all you're left is your letters, and you know, it looks really great, and everything looks uniform and perfect, and that's the way you want it to be.